In this video, we'll be discussing the idea of a centroid and more generally, the mass center of an object. We won't be using formulas, or some instructors like to use tables in order to compute the mass center or the centroid. What we'll be doing is intuitively understanding the centroid, and this is dependent on having a good grasp of statically equivalent systems, which I reviewed in my last video. Check out the video if you want a quick reminder on the idea of statically equivalent systems. But in short, what it says is that the sum of the forces in one system has to be the same as it is in the second system. And this is same for moments about any arbitrary points. In one system, it has to be the same as it is in another system. It really depends on how you're willing to group these two systems. So what we're going to look at is a set of plates which are welded together, but we're going to reframe our mind in each scenario. In this first diagram that I'm drawing, we'll be thinking of these plates as individual particles distributed throughout the entire plate. In the second system I draw, we'll be thinking of it as three distinct plates. And in the third system, we'll be thinking of it as a combined system where we place the total force at a special point along the XY plane, also known as the center of mass. The first system is a fine grouping. We're breaking it up into a bunch of elements. The second system is a coarser grouping, and the third system is the coarsest grouping. If these three systems are to be statically equivalent, what that means is that the sum of the forces of each particle in the first system is exactly the same as the sum of the weights of each of the plates in the second system, is exactly the same as the total weight. How would we compute the weight of this object? We would take the density, which is the mass per unit volume, multiply it by the volume, which is the area of a plate multiplied by its thickness, multiplied by gravity, because mass times gravity is equal to the weight. This would help us satisfy that first condition. What about the second condition, where our moments must be the same in all of the systems? In order for our moments to be the same, let's choose an axis, like let's say the y-axis for instance. What the statement would be that we would say for statically equivalence is the moment produced about the y-axis by each particle in system 1 is the same as the moment produced about the y-axis of each plate in system 2, which is the same as the moment produced by the combined system placed at a special point known as the center of mass. If you're enjoying the video thus far, please leave a like and subscribe. If you want me to be your teacher personally, the link to my engineering fundamentals school is in the description below. We want to take the sum of the moments about the y-axis. So that means we need a force and a distance. What we're looking at here is system number 2. The force is the weight of the first plate, and the distance is the distance of that weight from the y-axis. If you need a review on how to take moments, how engineers take a moment, please watch my video on how engineers take a moment. Let's move on to the second force, which is the weight due to that second plate, and the weight due to the third plate placed at a certain distance. This is how we would see the system if we were in a system 2 type of reference. We would say the moment produced by these three plates is exactly the same as the moment produced in the third system, where we place the total weight or the sum of the weights of the three plates at a distance equal to x bar, where x bar is called the center of mass of this system. What we need to observe now is that if we looked at the system in the first case and we wanted to see we wanted to make sure that static equivalency was attained. What we would do is say that the moment produced by each particle, which is the distance, x it is, of that particle moved over, multiplied by the differential force or its differential weight, which is its differential mass times gravity. If we summed up all of those, then what we would get is the moment about the y-axis. Each of these is essentially a sum of the moments about the y-axis. And we're going to review this calculus in the next video, but we're going to focus on the left side for now. If we assume that the density was the same of these three plates of the entire system of each particle, what we will be finding is the centroid of this system. Let's assume that these plates are thin and that their thickness is the same. We would get some simplifications. The first term would just be an area times a distance. If we do that for all the terms, crossing out the thickness and the density terms, what we're going to get is moments of areas. On the right side, the centroid will be exposed, that x bar. On the left side, we can see this is a new term for us called the first moment of area about the y-axis. It's like a moment of a force, but instead of force, the density and thickness is the same. We're kind of looking at cross sections at this point. And this is really important for future courses in mechanics and material, where you have to be able to find the first moment of area and the centroid of a cross section. If we wanted to solve for the centroid, we can do so, shown here. Let's go ahead and compute where the centroid of this system of three plates would be. How would we go about doing that? We could say that the moment produced by the three plates in system 2 is exactly the same as the moment produced by the total weight placed at a certain distance. Here I'm writing out those area terms. We can see that the first area would be placed at a distance 5 inches from the y-axis, or half of the length of the plate, and this is true for the other two plates as well. It's just half of the length. The total area could be shown here, 80 plus 20 plus 40. If we wanted to solve for the x-coordinate of the centroid, we could perform this division. And what we get is that the x-coordinate of the centroid is 4.36 inches. We could do the same exact thing for the y-coordinate of the centroid as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, you're saying in your mind, the moment produced by the three plates is exactly the same as the moment produced by the three plates, the sum of the three plates placed at a special distance away from the x-axis this time. This term in the numerator is called the first moment of area about the x-axis, and above it's called the first moment of area about the y-axis. Note its units is in cubic inches. What does that y-coordinate come out to be? 10 inches. So we've successfully found the centroid of the system, and it actually aligns with the center of mass because the density is exactly the same for all of these plates. Let's go ahead and move on to another example. In this example, we're going to be finding the centroid of a T-section. The top and bottom section of the T is exactly the same dimensions, 10 by 2. Now, we want to find the moment produced about the x-axis because our goal is to find the y-coordinate of the centroid. What we kind of say in words is the moment produced by these two sections is exactly the same as if I place the total area at a distance y bar away. That first section is placed 5 inches from the x-axis, and the second section is placed 10 plus 1, or 11 inches away from the x-axis. The total area is 20 by 2. If we write out the terms and take the division, what we get is y bar is 8 inches. What I want you to note here is that if we were to draw a line separating the top and bottom sections, we can see that the area above the red line and the area below the red line are exactly the same. Some people might take this to mean that the red line denotes the y coordinate of the centroid. But this is not true. We're not balancing areas. We are balancing moments of areas, or Q. So the red line should appropriately be placed here. What about, how could we know that the centroid should be placed at that red line? If we wanted to check, all we would do is ensure that the moment produced by the areas above this red line and the moment produced by the areas below those red lines are exactly the same. They're equal and opposite. The top areas would produce a leftward pointing moment denoted by that double arrow, and the bottom area would produce a rightward pointing moment shown by that double arrow, where their sum is 0. If we kind of computed this moments of area, what we would get is the following. The top area is 20 inches multiplied by its distance to the centroid, to that red line, would be 3 inches. The area right below it is 2 inches. It has a width of 2 inches, and its centroid is placed 1 inch from that red line. You can see that both of these moments are to the left using that right-hand rule, if you assume that that weight is falling into the page. The moment produced by the bottom area, which has a cross-sectional area of 16, is 4 inches from that red line. The left side terms have a sum of negative 64, while the right side term is positive 64. You can see that these are equal and opposite. We took the moment of areas about the x prime axis and we see that it's 0, which makes sense because we're at that centroid. What about x bar? We can use exactly the same logic. The moment of areas to the left and right of the y-axis is equal to 0. The right side area would be an upward pointing moment, and the left side area would be a downward pointing moment, such that their sum is 0. If we write out the coordinates of the centroid, we see that the solution is 8. The solution is 0, 8. I wrote it backwards here. What's also important is the idea of grouping. Why did we initially group the plates by rectangles? Since we know a rectangle centroid, what we could do is we can place those forces at certain points, and we can expand our knowledge of centroid geometry using tables, which are derived from this calculus relationship, which is just a statement of the sum of the moments of areas being equal to the moment produced by the total area placed at x bar away. Same thing for y bar. The centroid of a triangle could be shown here, and the centroid of a semicircle could be shown here. And there are countless tables of centroids. You can use these to expand your knowledge on centroids and compute the centroid of a system made up by shapes like these. If you learned something today, please like and subscribe. Keep learning and keep working hard. Goodbye.